Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 609, recorded live on Sunday, August 23rd. I'm your host, Patrick. Joining me this week, we have Asheras returning to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome back. I thought maybe I'd, one, get off my lazy bum and do a show this week, and two, actually get a guest this week. And sorry, it's been
Hey,
a bit of a
hey,
bit of
it's
a
okay.
slow month.
I've been lazy this summer too. I know, missing Guild Raid night, not getting my runs in on hardcore. So
Yeah.
it's been a busy summer, some personal stuff going on, but I'm excited to get back into the game. I'm hoping these new raids will show up here soon.
We'll talk about that.
That's that's not in the news though.
Well, that's the problem. um, let's see. This week's screenshot. Let's start there to get the stuff out of the way. Minxella and Spanky the Frog chase the Zen in House of Kundrak in the 477th screenshot of the week. Thanks, Minxella, for selling this week's screenshot. Nice camera work with the frog. I like the staging. Although the
Yeah,
the white hair or the sticking your head in the glowing the glowing thing is little lens flare kind of ish type thing.
yeah.
We like talking about Dungeons and Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, and from our website at DDOcast.com. DDOcast is hosted by Cyber Airs, the awesome podcast hosting network. Shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show will probably be next weekend, and you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOcast.com, with our calendar. On the podcast this week, we'll talk about like I said, I took last week off, and so we had a little bit of news to catch up on. It's not really exciting news, unfortunately, which is part of the reason why I didn't have a show last week. But then on the back half, we will have part 5 of our gearing up discussion with Samius Gurobo. That will conclude that topic. And some inside baseball. What we're kind of looking at for in the near future is hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe this week we'll finally get Lamania 2 preview for update 47, so we can talk about that.
That'd
But
be nice.
yeah, it's I don't think I should. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should predict that it's going to drop in October, because every time I've tried to make a prediction about when it's going to get, they've all been completely wrong all year long. So, but anyways, hopefully we'll be talking about that more in detail soon. But the next kind of topical series, we had a listener throw in a question to the show asking about, what kind of character should I build, and have kind of at the ready, so to speak. So I think we're gonna kind of dive into that a little bit, and what kind of character, what kind of build archetypes should you consider having in your stable of characters, and then kind of along with that, we'll kind of dovetail into how to go about building some of those archetypes and stuff. So looking forward to that. That should be a pretty lengthy series. That might take us to the end of the year.
Yeah,
If
there's a lot to that.
there
It's
can
it's a
be.
good topic.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, past life prioritization took us like a year and a half to get through, or something like that. We kind of came back to it off and on, but so that's kind of where I think we're going. But hey, if you have ideas for some stuff you want us here to talk about, uh, you know, comments, send an email, hit me up with a tweet. I don't hide very much, but I don't get out too much either. So, but let us know what maybe you'd be interested in having us get a hold of. With that, let's talk about game news for the last couple weeks. So the server update maintenance work is theoretically done. They did the last 2 weeks ago. They did Argoness and then Hardcore on Tuesday, Orion and sort of Galanda. They had planned work on Galanda, but it wasn't supposed to actually be down that as long, because Wednesday they did a restart for everybody. Orion was supposed to take some additional time, and then Galanda also ended up taking additional time. And then on that Thursday, they had Talanis and Wayfinder came down for more extended maintenance time. That was supposed to conclude the maintenance work. And then this week we had another the weekly Wednesday downtime included some maintenance work for a couple extra hours. So maybe we're sort of done with that stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that kind of fell out from all of this. Not including the Wayfinder rollback, which there's still some stuff kind of coming from that in the news here. The big thing right now is Thelanis is having some issues with party voice and text chat and friends lists, and that's still happening. Here a week and a half later, they still haven't really figured that out. So I'm not an IT guy. But I would say like this, like the engineering team, the systems team. No, not systems, because systems is like coding stuff on how the game functions. I don't know. Whichever team it is at SSG that deals with maintaining servers and working on servers and they can they've been having a rough couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's for sure. Their summer's not going so well. I mean, we still don't have server
Ew.
transfers working, which is frustrating as well.
I mean, that's not as. I guess it because the server instability threw everything back a couple weeks, right? So that kind of dovetailed a little bit on that regard. Although when they had said that they're gonna take the transfers down, I had kind of anticipated that being like 3 weeks to a month. And we're at what, maybe 5 or 6 weeks for that?
Yeah, probably about that. It's
Like
been a
that?
while. Well, it was down and then it came back and now it's down again too. So,
I
but
don't remember it ever coming back. I did see that I think Massively OP had written that it was back for Lotro and DDO, but it wasn't back for DDO. So, or at least when I checked, and I haven't seen it be up yet, so I don't know. I think they did say that it looks like it should be coming back soon-ish. I kind of wonder if at this point maybe like they might just leave it down until the Super Wayfinder bonuses expire.
that's
But
possible.
I
Well,
don't know.
yeah. Last time I remember it being up was at the end of the last hardcore, which would have been May-ish, I guess,
Well,
somewhere around there.
it's always been up. It only
Yeah.
came down. Like it's not like it was up for end of hard. It popped up for end of hardcore and then went away.
No, no, not at all. It was up on all the servers for
Yeah.
around that time, around that May time period, but it's been down since at least mid-June, I would think. I don't know. I can't recall exactly, but it's been a while.
I don't think it went down until like July.
Okay.
I thought
I
it kind of all
I don't know.
blurs together, right?
I have some characters that I know I need to transfer, so it's just frustrating.
Yeah, no, there's that.
They're getting overloaded.
Yeah, I'd like to move some stuff off of hardcore myself, but whatever. They'll come back. I still say it'd be nice if they put that stuff on like server transfers on sale once in a while too.
Yeah,
Some of the other
that'd be nice.
fallout from the maintenance stuff. Hardcore leaderboards. The visibility of the hardcore leaderboards was impacted by some of the server work. However, SSG says all of the data is there. As soon as a character pings the XP or favor system, it'll display correctly. So the issue being basically they can't manually correct this without doing some work that would have to be done very, very carefully to prevent even worse issues. The expectation is that given the amount of time left in the season, it's unlikely anyone in the top 100 today will remain in the top 100 by the end of September 22nd. That really just doesn't feel like a reasonable expectation to me. I'm sure there's people that are essentially done and will end up in the hunt. I mean, I ended up in the top 100 in season 1 and 2, and I didn't ping the system the last month at all.
Yeah.
So, um, you say if, however, you really are someone who won't be running on hardcore on that character at all before the end of September, and actually think it matters, they'll need to discuss their options. There was kind of some forum chatter about how to do this safely. Basically, you just need to like complete a quest. I think if you my and I'm not sure how many of these would actually work, but some things that have been thrown around, plus kind of my own recommendation is, uh, one, check to see if you have a quest you didn't turn in, and go turn it in. Because I've noticed you do get the message, here's your Reaper XP and your favor, uh, at after you turn in a quest, right? So that might do it.
Yep.
Some people threw out House J or the Delara's the intermediate quest between 3 and 4. The one we
Hmm.
just run in and talk to Delara's to advance to 4. That's a quest that completes and gives favor as well. The entry
Yep.
quest to Vaughn 3 is one that was thrown out. The Dragon Mark quest is one that's been thrown out. Uh, I would add that the little entry area to get to the Eerie Forest is also a quest that doesn't grant favor, but that might do it as well. So you can check that. Um, it doesn't seem like, I think players once they realize that, oh, I just need to go like ping the system and then it will work. Okay, fine. We can make that work. That's not too hard. Uh, so there's some stuff there. But that's what I know when hardcore came back up, there was definitely a bit of a WTF by the players. Like, I was on leaderboard and the leaderboard's broke. Let's face it, the leaderboard hasn't really been super reliable, or at least it it had some issues season 1,
Yeah, it
uh,
did. Hmm.
and I don't remember hearing much about season 2 being a problem, but yeah, so.
Hmm. Yeah. Intermittently, there have been things like what happens when you TR and that sort of thing, and yeah, it's lost your people's places and periodically. I remember season two being pretty solid though. I think you're right about that.
I think there was still a little like sometimes the system took a little bit to realize you were dead or something like that.
Hmm.
I feel like that was the
Yeah,
thing that happened.
yeah, I agree.
Uh, but in any case, I think it's mostly kind of working itself out. And there is a month left, so if you are listening to this and you're on hardcore and you would like to make sure you're on the leaderboard, and you haven't done anything in the last couple weeks, maybe pop over there and try some of those options that are pretty safe. Um, if you're level 20, you can go run Bond 3 on casual, the first entry part. I guess we could say the entry quest to Zorian Cipher would probably also be in that same vein, right?
Yeah, sure. And any of those. One for Faithful Departed too, correct?
No, that's just an explorer area.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's just an explorer area. I don't think that's gonna really get you anywhere, but
No, that won't then. Can
uh,
you if I have if you rerun a quest you've already run, does it still ping the system or not?
I think so.
So
I am
yeah, so you could.
assuming that anytime you get the message and the here's where you're standing on the favor board is, I'm assuming that's you pinging the system.
I think so too, because I think I've noticed that when I've done miss, because I've done miss,
Yeah.
early to get a weapon, and then I'll go back and do it harder later, and you get the message, both times. So, I mean, so you could do any quest you can run on normal or something like that. You can just blow or casual. You
Mm-hmm.
can just blow through. It should get the message, which shouldn't be too hard to do.
And I
If
think
you're on the
just turning
leaderboard,
it in pings it too.
yeah,
It seems like so.
hmm, yeah,
I feel like there's enough safe options that um I don't expect anyone who is like really serious about just I'm just gonna pop on, get like, make sure I ping that and get back on leaderboard and I'm off and safe. Anyone with that mind, I feel like there's enough options there that it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But if you don't know about it, it might be a problem. So small little wrinkle. I think it's mostly working itself out. I don't think it's there. If anything, there's been a bit of a mental exercise of, oh well, how can we fix this in a very safe manner? The players came up with a bunch of seemingly safe options in that regard. Wayfinder. The Wayfinder Fallout continues. So if you missed I think it was our last show, 608. Wayfinder had a rollback by about 3 weeks, and they continue to do some make good gifts. So they have a whole bunch of bonuses on there, that are running through. I don't have this written down. I think through like the end of this week or the next week or something like that. I'll look that up here. But they did continue doing kind of some other stuff. They're available through today, the 23rd. the plus ridiculous amounts of XP bonuses. So hey, we were right. They're not going to turn the transfer on until after those bonuses are over. I don't know if that was intentional, but that happened.
Yep.
Anyways, they wanted to update us on several efforts related to the recent rollback in Wayfinder. In particular, they have refunded all point purchases made on Wayfinder between 5 a.m. on July 13th and 2:24 p.m. Eastern on August 6th. I assume that the reason why the latter one is fairly specific is because that's when they took the server down. Your point totals now reflect that refund. You can confirm you have received a refund by looking at your transaction history in the DDO store. You'll have a point grant with the note Wayfinder refund. Additionally, all VIP subscribers who logged into a character on Wayfinder between those same time frames have had their subscription end date extended by 30 days. You can confirm this by logging into myaccount.sandystonegames.com. If you were a VIP subscriber during that time frame, but had your subscription end, they did also work to grant you 30 days of additional game time, and that work was completed. They also granted the following items to all characters who were created on Wayfinder prior to that window, so 5 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday, July 15th. All of those characters get one heroic XP stone that will grant 2 million experience when consumed. That's bound to character. They also get an epic XP stone that will grant 2 million experience when consumed, also bound to character, as well as 50 greater elixirs of discovery, which are bound to account. These items should already be in your in-game. They should have already been granted.
They have been. I've seen them on both my characters. Yeah.
I have not looked that closely. I've just been log in, roll the dice, log out. I'm sure I'll see them when the inventory is full soon. If you need further assistance, please contact the customer support as well. They did also bring back the last 2 weeks of the summer sales event last week. That was just to give people the opportunity to kind of repurchase that. That was given to everybody, not just on Wayfinder. So bonus for if you were looking for some of that stuff. That included for instance, we were talking about before the show, 50% off of Hearts of Wood. So that was in there. Some other stuff.
Yeah, there was some good sales last week. Yeah. Nice stuff.
The summer sales are always pretty good. I'm still a little upset that Artificer was not on that list because I would like to purchase Artificer for hardcore server if I continue doing that. But otherwise, I have no real reason to buy it, so I was kind of hoping it'd go on sale. Alas.
Artificer is much more popular on hardcore than it is on live servers, for sure.
Well, trap finding is... I think people are more... should we say, proactive about finding a solution for traps on hardcore than they are on live.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
Yeah, well, misadventure or whatever they're calling traps now is still probably the number one killer.
misadventure, yeah. Although I have noticed the bound ice and fire guardians were getting a lot of play, a lot of kills this time around
Yeah.
too. Um, anyways, so they brought back those sales. There was a question about exploiting behavior on Wayfinder, um, which I didn't really understand where this was coming from exactly. Um, there's I don't know, like I think some people were like, "Hey, this is gonna be crazy." Like people were just gonna take advantage of these things, and like, well, yeah, but I mean, you haven't been able to transfer a character to Wayfinder, so the only people who've been able to take advantage of this, or maybe you created a new character and are gonna transfer it off. Okay, great, well done. You played the system very well, but I mean, not saving a whole lot of time, really.
Well, you had to have created the character back on July
Well,
15th,
not
right?
for the big XP boosts, the
Oh,
in-game
gotcha.
boost to get the
Mhm,
items. Yes.
mhm.
Um.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so people were creating characters and then just running up lives on Wayfinder real fast. Yeah, you have to start from scratch with that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think also there was some strange concern about people like me who just log on to Wayfinder and roll dice and log off. I mean,
oh, that's what I do too. I mean, but
yeah,
you know, I mean, you're a season pass holder, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and so am I. It's not like we got our 20 or 30 days, whatever it was, of gold dice back.
No, we
So
didn't, and I was actually a little surprised that that was like the one thing I think that was kind of left out.
yeah, I thought so too.
Um.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I mean,
I guess there was like a small handful of players were concerned that these guys are gonna get all these stones. Like, well, they're bound to character. Um, I will say that I do now probably have an obscene amount of greater elixirs of discovery. But
mhm.
they are on Wayfinder, so like
Yeah. So you're paying 2,500 DDO points to move them somewhere if you really want them.
yeah, um, which is probably not gonna happen anytime soon, to be honest. Um, I mean, if I wanted to buy greater elixir discovery, it would certainly be cheaper now to just consolidate them on Wayfinder and move them over. Um, but
Hmm.
uh, yeah. Anyways, Cordovan responded. So even if we wanted to try to filter out people who logged onto Wayfinder to do things like daily dice and not give them the thank you gift, I'm not sure that would be a productive use of our time. Does it mean that there are a lot of characters with big XP stones on Wayfinder now? Yes. Is that a problem? For some, it'll also give them the chance to maybe do a quick past life or epic reincarnation and true reincarnation on an alt that they might use on Wayfinder every now and then. Wayfinder's having a little time in the spotlight, and maybe that's all right. Having run on there himself, the game experience seems quite good actually. Uh, some players might take issue with the last part about that and it being a low population server. I kind of have the sense that people on Wayfinder kind of like wear that as a badge of honor. Like,
Yeah, I think the folks who are there like being there. They like the smaller
yeah,
population. Yeah, they're probably very self sufficient.
you know,
So hmm
um,
probably are used to short manning things.
mhm,
It's just a different style and just a different maybe
mhm.
way of interacting with the game. So
I don't think there's any like really exploitive behavior here. I
no, I
mean,
don't think so either.
I mean,
I think
it comes back to me for the server had a rollback for 3 weeks, so anyone who's getting these items already uh had those characters there. Even if they were just rolling dice, they lost 3 weeks of dice rolls. I'm
I
reasonably
mean
certain that there wasn't anything interesting in my dice rolls, but
yeah, I don't recall if I rolled 100 and got a heart of wood or something like that. That might have happened. That might not have. Who knows? I think they did a good job of trying to come up with something to accurately give people something back for what they
Hmm.
lost. It's tough because of the wide variety. You've got folks who are either just dice rolling or being really casual in their play, where getting 4 million XP per character is going to be a lot more than they would have earned in that 3 weeks. Now, then you've probably got some other folks who might be blazing through lives and killed a couple lives in 3 weeks, and for them that's not enough to compensate what they actually earned, or maybe they had a really nice pull. Maybe they got a Reaper hat or something. Who knows? But you really can't cover all aspects of it. You're gonna have to try and do something that is somewhere in the middle. And yeah,
Broad strokes are needed to repair the issue, and I'm sure there's at least a handful of people that play on Wayfinder and didn't log in at all during that 3 week period, or if they did, they were just rolling dice and uh it came back and right after the rollback and like, hey, well, cool, I missed the rollback, but I'm gonna take advantage of all these really nice shinies. I mean,
yeah,
like
hmm
it.
yeah. I think the most I've ever seen them do is one of the Raiders reward boxes in terms of largest rewards. So,
Not anymore.
and yeah, not anymore. I'm just saying, in terms of an oops, here's something for you.
Yeah.
This is the biggest give that they've done. I mean, they're really trying to make it right, I
Hmm.
think. And like I said, it's not going to be right for everyone, but I think it's going to cover the majority of people pretty well. And if some people got a little extra, that's okay too.
I'm not gonna hold it against them.
No, I'd rather they err on the side of taking care of people as much as they can. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you do when in situations like this, because nobody likes losing data. I work in IT, and not losing data is like rule number one. It's the IT version of the doctor's thing of first do no harm, first lose no data. So
Yeah.
y-
Except you probably, if you're smart in IT world, I have to think you're kind of approaching it the standpoint. It's not a matter of if you lose data. It's really just a matter of when. And you hope it's
yeah,
a small amount.
yeah, yeah. And can you minimize that risk,
You
and
know?
can you mitigate that for sure? Yeah, because yeah, I think I used to teach some classes a long time back, and one of the first things I said was the easiest way to get fired is to lose data. Almost nothing else gets you fired, but losing data can get you fired. So I hope that didn't happen to anyone at SSG, and but it's tough when you lose data,
I,
no
I
doubt
think
about it.
I can come up, if you're in the IT world, there's one thing that I think will get you fired faster, and that's creating a data breach.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
That
Giving data to someone else is even worse than losing it, probably. Yeah, hmm
that would be an unfortunate circumstance.
it would.
Some other fun stuff. Steam Wallet is currently unavailable. Payments using the Steam Wallet are currently not available, and they're working to restore that service. They'll keep us updated. Uh, Also, the Lotro servers are having more instability issues. I'm not sure if those were resolved, but they had some late last week. Uh, those two things, kind of reading between the lines a little bit, seem like they might. I think the server instability issues in general were kind of third party or like their vendors uh issues, not SSG directly.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I do know that I did see Massively OP had an article on this, and some players on Lotro were getting really upset and really kind of trying to put some pressure on SSG to give more information about what's going on. And Jerry basically, to paraphrase heavily, said something along the lines of, "This is not my first time doing stuff like this. We're not going to do that. And if that makes you unhappy, I'm sorry, but we're not going to do that." So, which of course made people unhappy because uh, people want to know what's going on and what's causing it, and want to understand why SSG is seemingly been incapable of fixing it. So, uh, yeah, there you go. That's about as much as I know about that.
It can be so tricky these days. There was a time back in the '90s, and I'm probably aging myself on this, you know, when there a lot of IT folks really want to do everything in house, and you could do a lot of things in
Yeah.
house too if you really wanted to, if you were large enough. because avoiding third parties was a way to reduce risk. You can't do that anymore. So
Mm-mm.
much of your business is done on the internet and is done, through interactions and APIs with third parties, and you know, sometimes you're at the mercy of someone else. So it can be really tough, and then it can be tough for you to be able to give good time frames or good estimates to your customers because you don't have control over the whole process. So, I mean, I don't know what the situation is or if that has any
Oh.
relevance whatsoever, but I can see where that might potentially be an issue.
I think there's also, look, is knowing the full details really going to make it better? And I don't think it does. Cuz I
No,
think like if you know what the issue is, then it kind of just devolves into, well, you're idiots for letting this be an issue, or, well, why don't you just do this? And I I think I'm kind of with Jerry. Like, I don't like
yeah.
what
It,
maybe a cursory explanation of what happened might be helpful, but in general, is it? Probably not.
unless it's going to inform, what the expectations are going forward. Looking at the past doesn't really do a whole lot, and
Hmm.
playing the blame game doesn't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I agree 100%. At this, and if you think that there's anyone at SSG who isn't markedly more interested in getting this fixed than you
It's
are, you're wrong. I mean,
true.
this is these folks' jobs. It's what they do. They have a lot of pride in that, and it's their livelihoods, and they want Steam Wallet working. I guarantee it. And they want folks in the game, enjoying the content.
Yeah.
Buying things in the store. That's what they do.
Hmm.
So. Yeah.
They
I'm
got
sure they're doing everything they can to get it up and running. They're not being lax on it.
they have good people there.
They do.
So, and I've been fortunate enough to meet many of them. Let's see. Bonus days. The bonus days for the weekend. 40% challenge rewards boost through today, August 23rd. So if you're looking for extra ingredients, now would be the time to get them. Also, the Champion Hunter Week has returned through August 26th for a limited time. So you can. It's like the bonus Mysterious Remnants stuff. I think that is also a give for the Wayfinder scenario, because
Yeah.
that I think that happened in that they brought that back during the window, and then they're um kind of just bringing it back so people have the opportunity to get those items that maybe they missed, or
Makes
had
sense. Yeah.
had lost. So let's see, store sales. The sale this week is Honor Your Guild, so that's 20% off of Astral Shards and Guild Renown Elixirs, and 50% off of Guild Charters and Guild Airship Beacons. That's all through August 27th, as well as a long-lasting Potion of Shield of Faith +3 times 5 with the coupon code 5faith +3. Now through August 27th. Uh, yay! Not turning that one in. Maybe if I needed it on hardcore, maybe. But
Yeah.
a bit
Uh,
of an
uh,
uninspiring one.
yeah, I'd say so. Not one of my favorite ones I've seen in the
I
year. I
feel
won't
like we're
bother
due for a
keeping it.
good freebie of the week.
Yeah. Hmm.
Uh, let's see. That'll bring us to community news. In the 392nd Chronicle, the community. This is from 2 weeks ago. Fumbles and Fame is a longtime DDO group streaming the game on Twitch. You can check them out. Our guild got a shout out for completing Project Nemesis on 10 skulls. And I would,
Go Divers.
yeah, I would just like to also give a shout out to one of our guildies in that run who ended up at like negative 113,000 hit points from dying.
Nice. Who,
It was
who was
pretty
that?
Jib Cutter.
Awesome.
It's if you check out the thread in the achievements forum, you can you can look at that. But that was a pretty solid being dead. So uh,
Yeah, that's really dead.
yeah, that's I think the highest any of us had really seen was maybe in the negative 60K range.
That
This
sounds
was
about right.
almost double that. So, yeah. If guild, if you're looking for a guild this week, don't forget the recruitment forums. They work, so you can find some recent examples of that. The comment was, why don't magic users disguise the spells they cast, like make a fireball look like a magic missile? Because that meta magic feat requires you to cast the spell as though it were 5 levels higher, and it's just not worth it at that point. My answer.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
Not worth it. That's
Is that like a pitcher, like, trying to pretend like he's not throwing a changeup or something like that?
um
Trying to trick the batter?
sure. I mean, yeah. So it's kind of a weird way of saying it, just because by definition, throwing a changeup, you're trying to disguise that it's not a fastball.
Okay, well,
Um,
whatever, a two-seamer
but
or whatever,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, sort of, but I don't. It's
Why would you wanna do that, I guess is my question.
I don't know.
Okay,
I mean, I guess you're casting illusion spells, but
maybe.
mm.
I can tell
Fans.
you there are some spells that have much cooler effects than others,
It's
for
true.
sure. Mhm. Like, what's the one like, Nimbus of Light always just looks so wimpy. Like, what is that? Come on. I know it's a level
I
1
don't think
spell,
I've
but you can
cast
do
that
better.
spell in ages, so I'm not even sure what it looks like now. Um,
Sunbolt looks good. Sunbolt looks like it's gonna take
I
someone's
mean,
head
a
off.
lot of them look good, I think,
Yeah.
personally, but
Mhm.
sometimes it makes the screen a little hard to see, but you know,
Yeah, you get
uh,
into favorite souls going Sunbolt crazy, it can get weird.
or explosions everywhere and healing walls. Yeah. See, fan site news. We got a shout out for our last episode. DDO Stream is your first stop to find DDO on Twitch. This week's Shoemaker Talks Wiki, Fridays and Ice gets giant, and Brock and Friends celebrates Days Past. Also on Twitch, Shrimtom celebrates Sunfest, Voodoo Spice has a coffee and chat, and Squirrel runs a highlight video. And on YouTube, Sage of Galanda gets a perfect run, and free to play DDO shows you how to run Two Toed Tobias, and Safa Plays gets started on a Let's Play. Let's see. Hardcore Season 3, Saving Grace, continues through September 22nd, so you still have just under a month if you'd like to get some stuff there. Also, don't forget to redeem your free coupon code DDO Free Quests. That expires at the end of August, and that will give you all adventure packs currently in the game for free. If you haven't put this in, regardless of your status of being a VIP, premium, or free to play, stop listening to us yammer on about stuff that's not really that important, and go put this into your account.
If you even think you might wanna start an account sometime in the future, go ahead and get it
Yeah,
done and
do
do
that
this
too.
code, and just hold on to it. Yeah. I know. Those of you who are parents who might have a kid you think might play DDO
Hmm.
with you someday, get get their account set up and ready to go.
Or a
And the
significant
90
other.
yeah, or a significant other, and the 99 point, expansion packs too. That
Hmm.
goes away soon, doesn't it?
Same time, Menace the
Yeah.
Underdark and Shadowfell Conspiracy. Yep.
Mhm.
So you can get everything other than Ravenloft and Sharn. You can get at for less than 200 points and get everything in the game. So if you haven't done that yet, do that. Uh, unless you're driving, then please finish your drive and then do that. Let's see. Talked about a bunch of that stuff. The 393rd Chronicle, Zir Smash is the newest streamer on DDO Streams. You can check out his first show. Let's see. The guild for the week. This says player spotlight, and then or that's not player. Anyways, Lurian One is looking for brand new players to start things off fresh. So you can check out that for the guild hall this week. The comments. How many servers would you say you play on? Are we counting hardcore?
Yeah, if we are, then I'd say 2.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just the 1.
Uh,
Kyber's the best server. I mean, what are you gonna do? I'm sure I'll
I
get some
do
comments.
occasionally pop onto Arganessen to play with the damsels, or in theory Drac, but that hasn't happened yet. So, uh, hey Draculetta, you said we were gonna play. Let's play a little bit. Anyways, fan site news. Tito Kasplat has a Paladin tribute. I'm not entirely sure that Jerry knows that that's kind of a double entendre there. The Paladin was the tribute in that
Gotcha.
in that episode. The Damsels DDO had an awkward moment in episode 130, so you can check out their podcast. The DDO stream is your first stop to find DDO on Twitch. You can check out recent shows by Brighter Days Ahead Tonight, DDOPL, and D&D Night. Also on Twitch, MVP Cole starts a Use What You See challenge. Dark Crusader has Orion Front, and Plank Eye 52 does a build summary on Artificer Inquisitive. It's probably a pretty strong build. Inquisitive in general is pretty good. Over on YouTube,
Still is.
Chronodox CC Gaming hangs with friends, Safa plays, records a Let's Play, and Storytime Gaming helps the people of Korthos. A lot of streamers going on these days. It's great. Don't forget to check out D&D Night on DDO Stream Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Tonight's episode will be Return of Heroes of Battle Rise. So you can tune in and see me play a half-orc barbarian, and Evil Beaker is the DM, and a bunch of other folks pop in for that as well. And DDOCast is still going on Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, probably for the foreseeable future. There might be 1 or 2 weeks occasionally that doesn't happen, but we seem to be cruising along. I noticed we're already like almost 20 episodes into season 6 of that.
Cool.
So, which is a really interesting look into how long the pandemic's been going, because that's when we restarted, was a couple weeks into everything shutting down
wow.
because of that. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, so there you go. That will take us to Lightning Post. Fuzzy Duck 81 wrote in. This is in response to part 5 of our Gearing Up show, where we really kind of got into kind of more specifics. There's one of the big things to have right from level 1 on a character that can make lives easier are consumables. And that's true. I don't think we really kind of got too much into consumables, mostly because it wasn't really within our frame of gearing as much. But in any case, he's right. Consumables can be really helpful. Points out the lesser restoration, remove curse, remove blindness, remove disease, cure poison, cure serious wounds, panacea, which you can get from turning in wood blossom meads collectibles. Lily extracts, which are cure moderate wounds, also from lily petals. It's the same collector. Actually does more than the basic cure serious wound potions. Healing elixirs from daily dice and tasty ham. I find that I don't use tasty hams as much anymore. They're
No,
just
neither do I.
they're just so little healing, right? Essentially die hard, and that's about it. But they're there for you if you want them. Restoration stuff and festival cookies are all good ones. I also mentions a bunch of boosting stuff. You can get haste potions, greater heroism, fire shield potions from daily dice. Jump plus 30 potions can be found in White Plume Mountain at the Mud Room. That's a good place to get a few. And then the remnant turn-ins for the everlasting ones for freedom of movement, death ward, displacement are all good ones as well. The end protection from evil. He also mentions the medium Eberron Dragon Shard turn-ins. You can get summon monster. You can summon a level 7 monster summon monster 7 at level 1. Trinkets of greater restoration and demonic enhancement, major SP potions essentially. So there's a bunch of stuff there. He also says if you want to play the benevolent Santa giving gifts to all the new boys and girls starting on snowy side Korthos, you can leave and return via the cube on the borderland, not the ship's mate, and it won't trigger the storyline skip to sunny Korthos. So you're feeling benevolent there.
Interesting.
He also says, for minimum level 7, the Temple of Elemental Evil has some very solid weapons if you can find them or put the effort into crafting one of the melee weapons with the AoE proc. The club is fantastic with a scimitar's critical range and a 4d6 damage proc, as well as old style vampirism that procs in every hit. And it's the 1d4 version. So it's an option. I don't know that I would say that I would point newer players towards Temple of Elemental Evil for crafting, and because farming is a lot, but there you go.
That's a that's a tough run there
It's
for
one of the
sure.
grindier ones.
It is, yeah, and part two of that is a bit one of the more challenging fights that you're going to run into.
Oh.
So
He agreed with the hat from Slave Lords. He likes to put 100% fort augment in the hardened leather helm, and will often keep him going until level 20. The White Plume Mountain, don't overlook the crab shell buckler. It's one of those ones that makes you daze your enemies when you land a crit with your main weapon. Yeah. Great for a bear druid since it's non-metal, and their strike through means regular attacks can crowd control multiple enemies with a little luck. Yeah, great tip there.
yeah.
You want to jump in?
No, you're right. Absolutely. No, he's got good points. I like it.
Yeah. Level 13, he calls out the Pensophic Circlet. One of the few items that can displace his hardened leather helm. It's not the most powerful casting item. It's still pretty solid, especially if using multiple elements, or on something where you need to gear both fighting and casting capabilities. So there's also a few solid older items that can be worth keeping an eye out for. The minimum level 2 Tattered Gloves from Captives in the Cerulean Hills are great for fire spellcasters.
Sure.
Yep. Tome of Legend weapons from the Orchard have some unique effects and damage profiles. Yeah. Again, not a friendly farming gear piece to get, but if you're running it a bunch, you can get there. See, Shining Devastation, Everbright Adamantine Great Club that hits like a truck, and an Axe of the Unseen Blow from Litany of the Dead. A nice hand axe with a ×4 multiplier. That is Swashbuckler Barbarian's Hands, has a 16 to 20 ×6 profile at level 14. Yeah, I feel like you can get a lot of mileage out of that. And he also says good call on the starter pack, phenomenal value, especially if you can get it on a Black Friday offer.
But
Hafez,
but yeah, I'd say about that the circlet is one of the challenges I see is that a couple of the set bonuses require a hat,
yeah,
and that always that can throw it off. But otherwise, that is a good item.
but not the none of the caster ones from Ravenloft or Sharn have a hat in them. So,
Doesn't the battle mage have the brim or something like that?
oh, I guess that's true. Uh,
Okay,
I think that one's less casty and more melee though.
that's true.
But
Probably.
I I don't know if I've actually seen anyone use that set, to be honest. I mean, there is the hat there that has the spell focus mastery on it, which is really nice. But yeah, it. But by the time you get there, too, and I think that one of the reasons why that Pensophic Circlet doesn't really kind of stick out in my mind too much is because you essentially get the same thing on goggles. It's part of the caster set from Charn at level
Yeah.
15. So it's like a 2-level difference. So yeah. Hephaestus said he wants to give a shout out to the Night Forge weapons and gear piece tournaments from Luck of Sovereign Past. For just 8 to 10 adamantine ore within the quest, you can get yourself a couple of amazing weapons due to their expanded crit profile. For Knight's training weapons like longswords or hammers, there's also a minimum level 9 fortification item and heroism clicky. And that's an easy farm. You can get something in one run.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And Zeep Zerp said that the problem with Canon's crafting past Sharn is that it's pointless. What could you possibly craft at level 15 that compares with what you can get in Sharn? For the sake of running quests a few times versus the ages of time it takes to even get to a point where you can craft minimum level 15 gear. Not to mention farming quests endlessly just to run in and grab a pamphlet from a bookshelf. Crafting in DDO is completely backwards. In any other game, crafting is a way to get yourself to a point where you're able to farm for the really good stuff. In DDO, crafting is a multiple life investment of your time. and the time it would take you to farm all the materials you need to level your crafting up to even be able to make a Bane weapon, you could easily, just as easily, TR, Epic Reincarnate, and Racial Reincarnate several times over. Crafting is a progress bar filling time waster. I mean, I think it can be updated. I don't think it's pointless or quite that
No,
pointless, but
I don't think it's pointless either. I think one of the things you have to understand is that uh, DDO is a different sort of game than a lot of other games with the TR mechanic, where you're repeating the early levels on the same character and you're rerunning content, and as a result, the ability to then pre-craft your gear and kind of twink your character in advance of a TR or something like that is something you wouldn't need to do in any other game. And so Kenneth Crafting is definitely has a grind to it, and it's definitely geared towards characters who are going through that process. It's not something where you can craft as you go on a first lifer, and build up your crafting levels and be able to make things for that life. You're always doing it for the future, for sure. But once you get it done too, then you can fill in holes at any
mm-hmm.
given point in time. And I think that's what Canth crafting always was to me, was that flexibility in your gear Tetris. Um, and I would like to see it updated though. I think it does at the high end. It's kind of lagging a little bit as gear has progressed with Ravenloft and Sharn. The stats haven't kept up at level 29 and 30 for sure. And I mean, they could add more effects, maybe be more flexible on what effects go on what slots. Definitely it's worth a look. But I think augments is probably really more where you
right?
could you could complain about it being outdated. So I'd
Yep,
rather see them
definitely.
address that first.
Yeah, with you. Not that much time. If they could get the cannons crafting to be basically on par with random loot really fast, that would be nice. But yeah, um, I mean, I think Zeep has a good point, right? Like at level 15, how much crafting gear are you wearing? If you have geared yourself out, probably not a lot. I wear one crafted item, and that's I could actually probably get away from doing that. It's just convenient that I have uh, con, insightful con, and false life items on two different slots, so it doesn't really matter what I'm running. I can usually fit it in. There's a lot of overlap with some of that, with some of the other things I could get from, say, Sharn, but uh, it's a little easier. But other than that, past level 10, I'm not really using a lot of crafted gear. So,
I
not
think a
wrong.
lot of it depends on a lot of it depends on how you play the game.
Sure.
And like I speed through levels for the most part in heroics when I'm doing TRs, and so as a result I don't focus too much on crafting things, because what you get off of the named items in the sets generally covers your core requirements, and then you make do because you're not going to be around too long. I don't worry too much about gearing until I get into the end game for the most part.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with crafting when the level cap goes up.
Yes. hmm yeah, because now then it's really going to start to lag even further.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
And it might need to get touched just there. Because do
Yeah.
we need minimum level 30 with level 34 stuff on it? Like, how does that gonna work?
Yeah.
We'll see. Uh, well, that's gonna close out our show this week. Thanks, Asheras, for joining me. Anything you want to plug?
No, I'm good.
All right. Thanks to all the other contributors for DDOCast and to everyone for listening to the show, and to Cyber Ears and Wizard of the Coast uh, and Sandy Stone Games. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website at DDOcast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO themed webpage, or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. And you can hit us up at ddocast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff. If you'd like to be a part of the show, have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, or a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, you can email us at ducast@gmail.com, or leave a comment anywhere you can do so for the show. Uh, I will say that maybe emailing me is probably the most safe way of contacting us for that. You can also find us on social media and follow us latest cast updates at DDOcast on Twitter is the best place. So stay tuned for part 5 of our gearing up discussion. Back to the never-ending topic that is gearing up.
Never ending.
We're in part 5 of what I think I said initially was going to be a 2, maybe 3-part series. Yeah, I'm terrible at that. Apparently,
You punted. You invited me.
The other voice you're hearing is Samius Gurobo. Welcome back.
Hey, greetings and salutations, everyone.
And again, thanks for Inside Baseball. We've recorded all of this in one shot, and we've been going for almost 4.5 hours. Which for Samius is like about halfway through his normal day.
That's right. I'm almost in my limber period now with all this.
But seriously, man, hey, thanks for joining me. This has been a lot of fun.
Hey, I love it.
So we spent some time talking kind of more theoretical, big picture. Last time we got into specifics. We made it up to the epics. So now I am confident this is going to be the last section.
I am too, because you got to do the heavy lifting here.
Yeah. There's so we're going to talk about epic gear a little bit, and then we're going to kind of come back and kind of flesh some things out with kind of what we'll call hot swap items. It's not something that we just call that, but that's kind of a common thing. And some kind of clicky stuff and that kind of thing. So level 20 and 21 back to Borderlands is kind of, for me, you can use the Menace the Underdark stuff, but I think the Borderlands stuff just outshines that. It's way newer. It's got more up-to-date stuff. We talked about it in the epic levels, but the caster sticks, again, fantastic.
They're best spot at that level.
I mean, I use the caster sticks from there until I hit like the level 29 stuff.
They last deeply. If it's an elemental one, again, I think that the 25 anniversary event stuff takes back over again, but you can use it all the way to obviously to level 29 or 30. You get a lot of life out of them for sure.
I think it depends a little bit on your speed, right? I tend to get through epics pretty quickly these days. I've got a route that I like. I can do it in it. I end up going through epics so much faster than I do in heroics. I have less gear marks for them. I don't re-gear nearly as often.
I know a lot of the epic grinding people feel that same way right now. I am not one of those people.
Right.
I have been out of epics for so long that to me it feels like an incredible grind, and it just really kind of, to me, the slog is there. It's real.
Yeah.
The thing about epics is that so much of your power is front loaded because of the
destinies.
Thank you. The epic destiny. That everything else that you do kind of pales in comparison until you get to that in-game watermark hump.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that there's not a lot of really interesting upgrades, and obviously a lot of this stuff is going to be really key that we're going to talk about. The stuff that kind of stands out of the way. But yeah, like you're front loaded so heavily from 1 to 20, or from 20 to 30 that you almost don't have to take that 5 minutes to look.
So the other weapons here are pretty good. Even the silver and ethereal ones are both solid level 20. Like if you need a level 20 weapon, here you go, right here. They're easy to get. They're very comparable to and as good as you're gonna find.
Yeah, it's good enough that on the rare occasion that I do go past level 20, um, that's typically the item that I use for, because I don't usually stay over level 20 for very long. Maybe I'll farm some tokens, or maybe
Mhm.
I'll do a little bit of, I mentioned in a previous episode, screwing around, having Tobrel and distributed, and those guys drag me through some quests so I can like get some big jumps on Reaper experience. But they're good enough that they kind of get things done. In fact, I mentioned a trash can previously, which is basically just the nickname that I have for this sentient item that I carry around, so I can take named items from my heroic lives and throw it in something instead of just throwing it on the trash or feeding it to a vendor. It's been a one of these bromine things for a long time. It was a caster stick, and now it's the heavy crossbow. So like it fills in there really nicely. It's easy to take your trash can filigree set, throw it in there, so you like just throw in like a range set or whatever, and go to town.
You
Like
should
they're really
kind of
solid for that.
on that note. I mean, I like going through Borderlands every cycle. Partly because I like the quests, partly because they're fairly easy and short, which makes them good for getting a little bit of Reaper XP on the way up. Um, and but they also drop pretty good loot, which can feed sentient weapons pretty good. The weapons are level 20, which means if they're level 21, they would actually do quite a bit more for your sentient XP. But I did recently go to that vendor and say, okay, how many of these things? Wow, I've got 40 of these ingots. Here's 35. Give me some sentient weapon food.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That would be really good if you were like looking to.
You only get 20 per, right?
Yeah, but that's still pretty good.
No, it's still. I mean, if it level 21, the items do a much higher percentage.
Sure.
Much higher.
Oh, I'm sorry. The guy who only TRs doesn't know what good sentient
No.
XP is. Oh my god. But no,
I'm just saying,
I mean,
like there's a it's a little bit of unfortunate that it's not
I
level
got him
21.
flustered.
But...
I got him flustered. Look at him. I got him flustered. Perfect.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying. But my point is that you're taking something that would otherwise just be trash or sitting in your bag and turning it into something useful.
Yep.
So that 20 an item is actually still very good, especially like on an alt or powering up or
an artifact.
An artifact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it doesn't take a whole lot to take that to from scraps to something useful. And like I said, otherwise it was doing nothing in your backpack. So yeah, that sounds great. And again, for me, instead of getting 4 XP, 20, like wow, 20. Man, that's
yeah, it adds up quick. In a similar vein, I want to give a little bit of shout out to Thunderholm weapons. I don't think they're really anywhere near as popular as they used to be. But if you are really getting started and you can usually buy some ingots off of the auction house. But you can the lowest tier is level 22. You can get an item. Again, you can just feed them to your sentient weapon if you need to. If you're looking for some XP there, but you can also do some pretty basic crafting. They do go up. Like a tier 2 is level 26. But a tier 2 isn't
a little fast.
Yeah, tier 2 is not terribly hard to craft. If you can buy those materials, there's not a whole lot of them. But you can make something that because they're essentially metaline. They have most types of material in them, and you can get a red slot and throw in a good gem, a good ruby, and you've got a catch-all damage weapon for any of the DR you're likely to run into.
Yeah. So. They're I'm not going to say that I have never used those as like my temporary catch-all or whatever, because I still have some in my backpack to this day that are just level 23 that I think, do they come with a slot maybe? I feel like they have like an augment slot and like
I don't remember. It's 22, 24, 26, 28, I think.
I still have some that I've carried around for ages that I just haven't gotten rid of because it's like, I'll use this again before long or whatever.
Well, one of the things you can put on it is a 5% paralyzing.
Yeah, I mean, they're very good for the amount of effort, and again, it's very low because you get most of the stuff that you need just by going through the Explorer Zone. Which, as I
do need scales, but the scales are not bound, and if you keep an eye on the auction house, they show up there every once in a while.
Right. But you can, but by going through that explore zone, you get most of the mats that you need, and then you can, because that's what most people are doing to level in anyway, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty popular
Big
place
jump.
still to go level. It's not as good as nearly as good as it used to be when they changed the mob counts, but yeah.
Real fast, before we get too far away from it, at level 21, you have the serrated arrowhead from the Keep on the Borderlands. That is, if you're doing, the range thing that, Patrick mentioned earlier, that he has a handful of builds and one of them happens to be the Inquisitive style ranged build. The serrated arrowhead out of there is like, it's 10 out of 10. And it lasts very, very deep into the epic levels, in my opinion. You got your Crippling, your Seeker, and your Ghostly, a blue slot. And you can't even be that mad about accuracy on it either. So
Yeah.
There's a lot of very strong items. That one in particular, I feel like needed a special nudge.
Yeah, look, if you're new into epics, or returning and are just getting epics, like, go run Borderlands a few times. Like, you can gear up in. I don't care what build you are. You can go into Borderlands and you can gear yourself up. There's I think they're all in a ring. There's like a stat, a ring for each stat, and then there's another item. I think it's usually a belt that has like quality and insightful of that stat on it. There, I don't know if there's armors. There's some
I
shields.
can't think of one off the
I
top
can't
of my
think of
head.
any armors, but look, you can get most of the gear you just in named items. You can fill almost any gear slot you want out of Borderlands. So it's a fantastic place to go gear up.
Right. Especially, again, if you're either brand new or from the hardcore server, like, that's a very good spot for that level 20 to level 21, kind of getting your feet wet.
I do want to give just a slight warning if you're on hardcore and listening to this and you hit epics and like, oh, I'm gonna go to Borderlands and gear up. It's a bit of a dangerous place in epic. Just
You still need to have a group, and you still
Yes.
need to be paying attention, and you still need to be safe. That being said, I had to solo a bunch of them on epics, just me and my hirelings, and
Yeah.
on both no, not last go around, but both the go arounds actually. Both go arounds I soloed epic elite at level 20. Keep on the Borderlands. It is doable. You have to play smart and use some tactics, but
maybe don't talk to the Medusa.
are you kidding? I am definitely talking to every green girl I see.
That was a joke. At season 2, there were a lot of people dying in heroics to her.
I love me a green girl. Makes me hard.
Back to level 21. Other thing, I'm gonna go back to the White Plume Mountain quests as a place to get some good gear. Big Deal and Another Man's Treasure both have epic versions of all of the stuff that they got out of there. So if you found this useful in heroics, you are probably gonna find it useful in epics. It's the one exception might be the boots, just because striding 30% is a lot easier to find than striding 25% at level 6, but it's still got some nice stuff on it. I will point out those boots have electric absorption, which we'll talk about later, as well as dodge. The necklace that Samus mentioned has devotion and heal amplification and dodge on it from Another Man's Treasure. The Mux Devastation from Big Deal is an upgrade for an ooze whacker. So there's some really good stuff there. There's also a catch-all, level 21 catch-all for rogue skills in Big Deal. There's also one in Borderlands, although I don't remember where it is specifically. So
I didn't know there was a catch-all. I thought there was just like a helper.
Nope, it's all 4.
Oh, nice.
It's gloves in Big Deal, and I want to say it's goggles in Borderlands, but I don't remember what it's called, and I don't remember what it is. I only remember that I didn't really care because I already had the one from Big Deal.
Yeah, I will also, real fast, while we're talking about it, there are catch-alls all along the way. There's also 16 a pair of goggles out of the Soul Survivor. So having those catch-all tiers is definitely for the rogue skills, the trapping stuff is very important.
Maybe that's why I think it was the Borderlands was goggles, because I saw that one recently.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. Level 23, the memory lapse again has helmets with each stat. Again, a really
Plus
nice
11.
Huh?
Plus 11s and plus
Yeah.
5 plus 5s, right? Plus 11 and 5s.
That sounds
Not
right.
all.
Whatever stat you're looking for, they got one there. Again, if you found it useful in heroics, you'll probably find it useful here. It's only slightly better than the Borderlands stuff, maybe. So if you got one, you may not want the other, but it's a place you can look. I will give a level 24. I'll give a shout out to Three Barrel Cove, epic. Really just hang out in the explorer area. The privateer boots had freedom of movement and fire absorption. There's a rapier that has disruption and ghost touch on it. So some pretty good stuff out there.
Yeah, I think Three Barrel Cove was like the beginning of the power creep for gear when they went in and revised it. And at when they did that is when they they had their first like really figuring out gear and kind of getting it going back together.
It was a new philosophy, I think, and kind of a direction of how they were going to make named loot that I think you're right. That was kind of the start of what really reverberates still today.
Yeah, and it's great. And Three Barrel Cove continues to be good and high quality, even when you're competing, not in every single slot with like some of this other stuff, but it's still very, very good.
Yep. I'm gonna jump up to level 26, and the reason I want to stop there, and I realize this is maybe less enticing in terms of a new or helpful for like a new returning player, but level 26 is the first place where you can get legendary raid gear and put it on.
Right.
They tiered out the legendary raids, and so the tier 1 you can use at level 26. You can also use legendary shroud stuff at 26. And that's you can go down a really big rabbit hole with there and getting into like the 4-piece kind of sets that are really kind of the top tier meta. I don't really want to go that far necessarily, but there's some really nice effects that you can get if you can build up some ingredients. If you're a castery type, I would highly recommend. There's better ones, but I'm just gonna like hone in on one, and that's the salt, legendary salt. And what that does is it gives you a % chance to slow things down. So if you're a caster and you're trying to stay away from things, you got use a 2-stick caster set. I really like is my offhand assault one, just because I think it's got like a 50% chance to slow things down. It can stack up to like it slows them down and their attack speed. Really nice defensive kind of thing that you can have going for you. But there's a lot there that you can unpack once you start feeling comfortable about. Check out the wiki and its page on that. There's a whole bunch of fun stuff you can do there.
Yeah, it's a very deep grindy area that you can really customize for you. It's not really a new character, new player, or returning player friendly. That's something you'll do the raid, you'll pick up the mats, and you'll just kind of have fun exploring the revisiting of a classic DDO quest. But I would not expect a new player to be like, I'm back in DDO, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna sit here and figure out my shroud thing, and I'm gonna craft my I'm not expecting.
Yeah, and I'm not either. I did want to kind of bring it up though, partly because it is one of the most run raids out there. And if you enjoy kind of getting into that scene a little bit, it's really easy to find a group for and to get in there, and before you know it, you'll have some mats. Even just like you can do tier 1, tier 2 is pretty easy to get. Look, if you show up in a legendary shroud run and say, "Hey, I'm new," if anyone doesn't want their tier 1 or tier 2 mats, please feel free to send them my way. I guarantee you, at least 3 people will give you those mats.
Probably.
So, tier 3 probably not, but there's some ways to shortcut that. Yeah, 26 is where you start being able to use some of that raid gear. Some of those raids are harder to find and get into, But if you find some, if you get in a guild that does it, it might be a place you can look for some gear at that level. That's going to be kind of more of a reincarnation if you're going 1 to 30 kind of a thing than if you're like just trying to gear up to get to 30. You probably just blow right past this and still be wearing your Borderlands stuff.
Yeah, but there's some places where some stuff will kind of kick in,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe you got some Defile the Just stuff, or
Oh yeah.
a little bit here and there. Maybe you put it in. I'm actually looking at 27 right now with the Epic Orchard stuff.
Yeah.
Because the refresher, again, because the hats are kind of a weak spot, except for like the wall watch set, I think.
Well, House J, but we'll get there.
But you can. Oh yeah, that's right. They just redid. See, I don't even think about that. They just redid all those. But yeah, you get like a lot of the hats, and they might still work into your build nicely. From there.
Yeah, the
And it's a
Orchard's
minor upgrade along the way.
the Orchard's a good kind of like low tier 2 place, as you put it earlier, and like
Right.
you can get there, you can get some gear, it'll kind of fit in. I think I feel like most of the stuff you can find out of Borderlands is probably still gonna outpace the Orchard stuff, because I think the
I'm just
stats are pretty darn close.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. A lot of it may some here and there. It might. They're very similar.
Yeah.
But because they're on a hat instead of like a ring slot, you might get some extra value. And there's definitely, and again, I'm just looking at the numbers and comparing because I don't play a lot at these levels. There's definitely still some like areas where I think you're going to get a little bit more value here, a little bit more value. Again, we're just trying to give you some ideas so you can go out there and figure it out and flesh it out on yourself or for yourself.
If you can get your hands on an Epic Minos helm, pretty nice helm.
It's pretty good. It's very good.
Nice. Level 29 is kind of this is where you get into the really end game stuff.
This is where all of your all of your Shroud
Ravenloft
stuff and all your Ravenloft,
Sharn, White Plume Mountain, those, and also the Age of Rage, the helms from House J. Those are all epic or legendary, epic whatever versions of the stuff you find in Heroics. And again, if you were using it back then, you'll probably find it pretty useful now. The main difference here is Ravenloft and Sharn are at the same level in epics. They are not in Heroics. And for that reason, a lot of the Ravenloft stuff is less used than the Sharn stuff. But especially for a newer or returning player, if you have Sharn and Ravenloft, which everyone does right now for the next month and a half, well, okay, maybe not as of when this goes out, but as the time we're recording this, look, until end of August, if you really just want an easy roadmap to gearing yourself up to hang with people at endgame, get a legendary Sharn set, find an artifact that works for you, and fill in the gaps with Ravenloft and Sharn gear, maybe White Plume Mountain or Age of Rage, and that's really all you need. And you're there. And when I say you're there, you're probably 90% of the way there to those really crazy high end game players.
I would say 80.
Sure.
You're definitely in that world. You're certainly a B. Just because you have the gear. The A's or the A pluses. These are the guys that I'm gonna take you guys to the weeds for a second. Have ground out like the special Age of Rage hats, right? They've gone through on the special weekend, the loot boost weekend, and got the special super hats, stuff like that. Like that's the top tier. That's your goal, right? If you're gonna sit up there at the high level and churn butter until that's clean, right? Churn butter until the next thing comes out, and you're just gonna do all that stuff. That's where you're gonna spend your time. Those are the things that you're chasing. This is that step right before there, and you're like, I'm holding my own. I'm keeping up. I'm doing stuff. Like I'm contributing. But But the guys who have pushed past that and pushed into that top tier, that's the stuff that they're chasing. So you've got the easy grind done.
Yep.
Now it's time to figure out what the next goal is. Is the next goal to chase that 1% gear, or is it to work on an alt, get some past lives done, start a TR grind, come up with a secondary rating person? Like you've got the basic gear under control.
If you want an idea of what that next step is, right now it mostly revolves around legendary shroud sets,
Yeah,
which
that
are pretty grindy.
you hear about that a lot in that grind. You also, again, like I said before, the hat. You only get like 1 weekend or 2 weekends a year, and I'm not even 100% sure what goes on, but there's a special bonus that you can get.
There's a Reaper bonus that only shows up on hats. That's +2 to all stats. That stacks with all the other bonuses. It only comes on hats. You can get it outside of the bonus weekend.
Whatever.
And officially, these boosts, the boosts, do not actually increase your chance of getting these hats. Now, that's the official line. Anecdotally, I think it's pretty clear that you are more likely to get that hat on this loot boost weekend.
Correct.
And I think that is more. I think there was more to that than people just run it more during that time frame.
That is definitely a factor, but it is
100%.
It is 100,000,000,000% that. I think we're being smokescreened too.
Yeah. Or there's something happening that they're not intending, but
correct. It is the chase. This is where people will be like, it's hat weekend, and they will literally not leave their keyboard. They will stock her up. They will get their diapers. They will sit here. They'll have their however many cases of whatever it is that they drink sitting next to them. They will have all the Funyuns. They will just sit there, and they will do that. People, that is the 1% grind. That is where you're at. Have you ever seen one?
I have more than one.
You have more than one. I've been linked to, and that is all I've ever seen.
I think I have 2. I have the charisma hat from Age of Rage.
Oh, nice.
Which for a tank was fantastic until Sharn came out. And I have the hat from Memoirs. We actually glossed over the hat from Memoirs, which is a pretty solid one because it's got potency, insightful potency, and quality potency on it.
We didn't really get into as much of the casting stuff.
I mean, like we could be here for days.
There's a whole world in caster stuff. That would be.
This hopefully gives people kind of a roadmap and kind of maybe something that they might have missed or look. I'll go back to like you're trying to. The best place I think to start with gearing up is whatever level you're at. When you see people running that level, same kind of thing. Hey, what are you using?
Yeah, tap into the community. Whether it's you're talking to people while you're playing, those of us over on the Twitch or YouTube or all of us are interested. We don't put the stuff out there because we want to be isolationists, right? So we want your feedback. We want your input. You can send Patrick an email. You can, which I'd highly recommend because otherwise we have nothing else to talk about. But like, it's input. Tap into that community hard.
Yeah.
If you need help.
I want to get into a little bit more kind of advanced stuff, but not super advanced. This is still really easily achievable. We're going to talk about some hot swappy stuff. So what do I mean by hot swap? This is gear that you're not always wearing, but you pop in and use, right? An example of this, and we've talked about this a little bit, they're clickies, right? We've talked about a couple Death Ward clickies. We talked about some Greater Heroism clickies, invisibility clickies, shield clickies are fantastic because
talked about the mana restoration stuff.
Yeah, mana restoration. Protection from evil less useful, but man, when you're getting commanded 5 times in a row, you really kick yourself for not clicking that. one that you've been carrying around. So, are there any other? I went through that list really fast. So, any other clickies you want to kind of land on a little bit, or kind of?
There's still a couple. I don't use them nearly as much as I should with a lot of the builds that I tend to lean towards. But like heroism is very popular, especially at low levels. You can get that. We actually went through this really annoying window where spell like clickies didn't drop in random gear loot for a long time. They've kind of been working their way back a little bit. I've noticed, even this weekend, I noticed like some slight stuff. Um, Bless and prayer on clickies are really good. Divine power on clickies used to be very
Used to be a
very
big deal.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to be really big.
That's kind of more of a you don't have a full base attack bonus build thing.
Correct.
Though.
Exactly. We talked about the various potions, like this weekend, for example, where you could get like freedom movement, death ward, displacement. But you can get like some haste goggles from the chronoscope, for example. It's good to have a fireball access. Again, thinking of chronoscope, you have the clicky there. One of the ones that I
use
carry
scrolls
around,
for that, and you can use scrolls for a lot of these things too.
you can. The difference is it saves you the money to not have to do it. You also don't have to worry about like UMD or spell failure, stuff like that. No, that's a good one too. We'll talk about that one in a little bit.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah. But I had another one that I was literally just thinking about, and now it's gone. The teleport clickies are very important, especially like on the hardcore stuff like that. Yeah, clicky. The idea of especially for non-UMD based people, right? I know what I was going to talk about. The idea of being able to have access to some sort of magical spell that's way outside of your range can give you some depth. And then you have something that's super important for me and on the TR train. It's the Staff of Arcane Might or Power. I think it's Might from the Demon Queen raid. And the reason it's so important is it's one clicky, one device that has like I think 5 or 6 different abilities on it. One of which is Fireball, and the other one is Cone of Cold. Do you know why those particular clickies are important, Patrick?
Inferno of the Damned.
Inferno of the Damned. So that is your catch-all. If you do not have those, so if you don't have that stick, then you have to sit there and guide around the methods and do all that, which is totally
I have
doable.
scrolls of Firestorm and Fireball and Ice Storm.
Correct, and you could do all that stuff, but instead I'd rather
there's a couple ways to get around that problem.
Chat also mentioned something that I was also going to talk about for the hardcore server again. Expositor's Retreat clickies. So on the hardcore server, going fast is actually more important probably than it is on live, and it's also a lot more difficult to have stuff going for you.
To be clear, however, it's not from like a zerging standpoint. It's from a running away standpoint.
Correct. Staying alive. However, in Rescue the Mayor's Daughter and Korthos quest, I don't know the name of it. Captives, thank you. When you rescue her, one of the options is from the Anger set. And the Anger set has 2 clickies of Expositor's Retreat for 5 minutes. That quest takes like 3 minutes round trip. Like run out there, do the quest, come back. Even if you're doing it on casual, if you need to. Casual doesn't mess up that. And you can get 20 minutes of Expositor's Retreat on the hardcore server for not very much work, not a lot of effort at all, per shrine. And that's enough to kind of carry you through. I know a lot of people on the hardcore server have really been having problems with movement speed. But when I mention that to them, they're like, no, I'm not. Why would I?
By the way, you can also buy scrolls of that and scrolls of shield very cheaply from the level 1 arcane scroll vendor. Both of which can be really helpful for hardcore.
All important. But I don't. My boggles my mind. These fighters or these bear tanks They're just like, man, I'm so slow.
Scroll's not so useful in a bear tank.
Yeah, Expeditious Retreat clicky. They're right here. You can do like.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Some other things I want to mention that the chat's pulled up. There's some Night Revels clickies. There's a helmet that gives you a dodge bonus. There's the candies, which we'll kind of throw in here as a clicky that are pretty nice. They're easy to make, and they last for about 5 times longer than they say they're going to last.
Well, so far. I carry them around. I don't always remember to click them. To me, a clicky means I have to click it.
I have that problem with anything that's consumable. Click, like, I'm terrible. Yeah. Except for healing stuff, and I'm like, heal me, don't die. And then the other one that I really want to highlight out of the Night Revels is there's a robe that has a 1.5-minute clicky that's plus 25% spell critical damage, which is a lot.
Really good.
So there's a robe and a docent version. So that's a great one as well that I really wanted to mention and throw in there. The other one that was the one that we both reacted to earlier is the Harper pin, which is a get out of crowd control free card. The lesser version is every 10 minutes. The greater version is every 5. They have the same timer, so you can only use one. But if you're gonna get on the TR train, I would recommend before you do that, get the Harper pin, at least the lesser one, if not the greater one.
Yeah, take the time, farm that one up, and if you have the willpower, and I have to say that if you have the willpower and you can get the people together, get a Gibber's Blade.
Yeah. That's another one of those that if you don't have it and you're reincarnating, my recommendation is go there every life, right? Hit that every life.
Take a break, get some people together, knock it out. Like, do 5 or 6 runs on a life, see if you get it. If not, pop back, TR again. But you believe me, it has probably been the single biggest change to my TR in progress is having it. Because I probably use it maybe 4 times a life. And if you consider that's 4 times that you would have either had to buy a cake or restart the quest, it adds up.
If you're sitting at Epic and you're not reincarnating, I got a Jibbers, and look, this is, I think, an absolute aberration of how many times I've gotten a Jibbers Blade. But what I did was I would go run it twice a day with my various characters, and I'd rotate them so I never hit a ransack, right? So I'd take 3 characters and, go run it a couple times with that character and then go do whatever else I was going to do that day. And then the next day I'd grab a different character and run it 2 or 3 times. And I just kind of kept cycling through that. Just kind of hit it, as a daily thing. And you'll get there eventually. Probably not the run that I went on where I got like 8 and 16 runs. Like, that's absolutely ridiculous. And I have, like, that was the one time the DDO gods were really smiling on me. But
the day you should have stopped playing DDO, got that lot or that plane ticket to whatever casino.
Yeah.
You misused your luck. Instead, you got sweet Jibbers Blades instead of setting yourself up for life. But fine.
I thought about going and buying a lotto ticket after that, but I figured as soon as I bought that lotto ticket, that the luck was going to end. So
maybe.
Some other hot swappy stuff that I wanted to mention. Spell absorb items. We mentioned Ion Stones. The Pale Lavender Ion Stone is really popular for that reason. Easier to get would be Jeweled Cloaks and the Mantle of World Shaper. So that's some stuff. I mean, look, if you run through Giant Hold every life, you're gonna get a Jeweled Cloak.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, again, I kind of mentioned that I use trinkets as my hot swappable location. So Feather Falling is there. If you do a little bit of crafting, you can get like some really good spell penetration or SR spell resistance.
Anything you want really on a trinket, but yes.
Yeah, you can spell resistance. Any of the Ion Stones, you could get various stats +6 stats at level 6, I think, maybe level 5. If you either 5 or 6, I don't
Iron
remember.
Stones, I think, are all level 5. Well, the generic ones are all level 5.
Right.
The ones you get
We
in
already
Dream Drop.
talked about the fact that there's all these really great ones coming out of Keep on the Borderlands and the Druid stuff at low levels. There's even if you turn in some of the Dragon Shards stuff, like you can get a heal clicky, you can get mana recovery clickies. They're temporary. You're burning the
They're
charges.
consumable, but
They're consumable, but they're there. They're clickies. They last quite a long time, really. So you have those as options. For me, the trinket slot's very important. You also have the items from Three Barrel Cove are very good. There's lots of lives where I just put on like the one of the defensive trinkets and never take the bloody thing off because it gives you Stone Skin Guard at level 4. Like very, very good. And Pirate Toughness, 5 hit points of piratey goodness. How can you beat
10.
that? No, I think it's 5. And by I think it's 5, I looked at one yesterday. So
is it 10% fortification, 5 life? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless they made it.
I think you're right.
They did revise those. They did revise them, so it's possible that I have an
I think
old one
you're
that
right.
hasn't been fixed. But so like there's a lot of playing trinkets. If you're a returning player that played a little bit in the Cannith crafting, there's a small percentage that you have crafted 10% melee attack speed on a trinket. If you did, then you are in the like 1%. You want to keep that thing for when you're TRing. That's level 1 or 0. And now to get 10% attack speed, I think it's to craft it, it's like level 14 or 15 or something. And to get it on an item, I think the lowest is 10.
So a lot higher now.
Yeah, that is something that has moved. So yeah, there's a lot of.
I just want to talk about spell absorption.
I know, but my point was that the trinket slot with the clickies and consumable stuff is very powerful.
But keep an eye out for some spell absorption. That can come in really handy at times. It is, if you're talking about how to go from like make that last jump to that last percentage of like skill level, spell absorption I think is like the lowest hanging fruit of that, of when to use it and pop it in. Some other things I wanted to stat items for boosting things. They redid it a little bit ago, but there's a lot of variations of click this enhancement ability, and you get half of your insert stat modifier to damage and attack. What you can do is if let's say you're a strength-based fighter and you have the intelligence one from Harper Agent, you can swap in an intelligent item, hit that boost, and then swap the stat item back out for your normal set. You can do stuff like that.
It's a lot of weird optimizations along that line.
Yeah, and as you'll kind of pick up more, and look, your gear that you're carrying around is going to balloon pretty fast, to be honest. Other some stuff to throw in here. Alignment and elemental absorption stuff. Electric and fire would be kind of two of the more common ones that you might want to grab. There's a lot of places where both of those are pretty high damagey that if you're not really ready for can get you pretty good, but having something you can swap in can be really nice. Skill boosts. Obviously trapping stuff. We've mentioned a couple of places you can get that. Also, I wanted to throw out UMD, an item that can boost your UMD can be really helpful, particularly when you're lower level and maybe UMD is not a class skill and you're trying to use that res scroll on somebody.
Yeah, they've added. I don't remember what it's called now. I think it's Lucky, perhaps. And it gives you like a +1 luck bonus, and I think +2 to UMD. It may not be called Lucky, but there's an effect now that they've added that's a double, and it's relatively low level, so that it is very good, especially if you're like starting the quest and you want to hit like a GH scroll.
The other things, people skills, bluff, diplomacy, intimidate. Uh, there's a bunch of quests that have these kind of optional things or things change. Generally, they make it a lot easier for you if you can hit a bluff, diplomacy, and or intimidate check. So items that you can pop in for that. Um, I would also this is one of the places that I would also point you to heroic sharn crafting. You can also look at epic because there's some this kind of the same idea there. Legendary shroud crafting that you can get some bonuses that are not normally available, like insight bonuses to charisma skills, which would impact all of your people skills and UMD. Um, so there can be some a little bit of low hanging fruit there, if especially maybe you're a returning player and you used to run shroud a bunch, you have a bunch of shroud materials, and you're thinking, hey, these heroic shroud stuff, like what am I going to use that for? Charisma, insightful charisma skills might be a really good option for you. Um, that can help because a lot of builds don't get UMD as a class skill. So you hit 11, you've got this item you can pop in. You can make it with a raised dead clicky as well. You can get some mileage out of this. Um, we've touched on it a few times. XP boosting items. Um, generally, if you can wear them all the time, it's going to be easier because you won't forget to put them on. Voice of the Master, Mantle of the World Shaper, Pale Green Ion Stone, I think is what it's called, which has vitality on it. The other thing, and we've kind of mentioned it in passing, is Master's Gift, which is an augment. You need a Voice of the Master, a Mantle of the World Shaper, and 5 greater tokens of the 12, which means you have to do some epic raiding. That you can get those from the House Cannith. Well, I don't know if they're still going to be available in Epic, but you could get them from the House Cannith Epic versions, raids. Demon Queen and Vault of Night also drop them. But
Correct.
you take
I
that
feel like Chronoscope drops them too.
I believe you're correct. I'm
think
pretty
Chronos
sure
the easiest one to get.
but you get 5 of those, and those 2 items, you put them in the altar that's behind the Tower of the 12, and you get an augment with a minimum level 1 augment with the plus 5% XP on it. I will say, be careful what you put it into because it can make bound to account items bound to character, depending on what they are. I'm not sure I even understand the how that all works sometimes, but
yeah, I personally, this is my philosophy when it comes to Voice of the Master. Pick a gear slot. In my case, it's cloak. So every cloak that I wear, the Mimic cloak, my every shroud or every Ravenloft cloak, and so on. Every cloak that I wear, if it's a new cloak, and it's like, wow, I just got this cloak and I'm gonna wear this, go right over there. I take my current Voice of the Master and blah blah blah, and I turn it into a thing and I slot it. And then that life, I refarm up the Voice of the Master and a Mantle of the World Shaper. The very next life, whatever the next life is, I make that like. You don't do those quests every single life. You do Delirious every single life, probably, but not everyone does.
Thrunel.
Thank you.
It's kind of a pain to run too. So.
Yeah, you don't always do that one every life, but you get them because you want to have access to those items as your TR, and you don't use them all the time, but sometimes you use them a lot, and sometimes you leave them in your bank, and you're like, man, why don't I just crush that already? So the reason why is because that is like your warning. It doesn't matter to me what you pick. If it's a ring, a hat, an armor, doesn't matter. Pick a slot and put it in there. This way you know it's always there. The other thing, fast forward to the hardcore server. The other thing, and I think it's the reason why I succeeded so much on my Reaper points so far this hardcore server season, is because I actually talked my group into farming the Voice of the Master at level 6 or 7 because we Reapered the whole way, right?
Which you can do it on casual.
You can, which you totally can do it on casual. and whatever. If you want to do it on casual, you could probably even sneak it in even earlier. But I talked my group into we're gonna Reaper as much as possible. Now we're level 7 or 6, something, somewhere in that ballpark. Let's go get our voice of the master, right? And by doing that, that gave us that 5% extra Reaper experience way early,
Mhm.
like quite a bit earlier. And as the person who played the Trapper all the time, that just gave me something to wear that was beneficial to help with my trapping skills all the time. And it makes such a huge difference if your goal is the Reaper experience goals on the hardcore server. You want to get it early and you want to wear it. If you're not doing that on the hardcore server, it doesn't matter. You get it whenever you get it, because who cares about experience on the hardcore server outside of the Reaper? But it makes such a massive difference over a TR or on the Reaper experience or even on the Reaper experience on live, right? You're gonna get that 5% experience doesn't sound like a lot, but it's everything all the time forever. And it adds up very quickly. Because you're talking about getting, you know, what, 3.8 million experience or something like that on your
Yeah,
triple
that
complete
sounds
and your
right.
triple TR. So, like, think about that. Think how much quicker if you took 5% of that experience off of 3.9 or 3.8 million. Like, it's not like 4 quests, it is a significant amount of experience. So,
Another
taking the time to
8.2
figure
in
that out.
epics too. So
Right, and again, it all adds up. So pick a slot, make that part of your process. If you can't do that, then you need to find some item that you can put on and wear and just be like, all right, well, I'm going to sacrifice this. For me at level 1, it's a jade ring. The level 1 ring I can put on, I can wear it until I get to my cloak at level 4. And I'm,
I
I'm, I'm like sacrificing that slot.
my version of that is a crafted level 1 goggles with true sight and blindness immunity on it, which I know is a pretty popular combo.
Those are also extremely high in the crafting list, but it
Yes.
is very much doable. I think you're talking 300 some crafting level to make that.
I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, it is higher, and you're probably not going to get there right away. But
Correct. Which is why I use whatever zero level item that I happen to have that had a slot in it. And again, I've probably had this ring for
a long time.
the first TR I think that I've ever done, like ages ago. I probably slotted that up and I used it ever since. So I'm not saying it's ideal. I'm saying that's the mechanic that you want to have for something along those lines, is you want it to be there because that 5% is real.
Yeah. I use those goggles until I hit Ravenloft gear, and then I actually just wear the voice of the master until I get to the pale green stone, and then I wear that, and then I wear the epic voice of the master, and then I have an augment slotted in my artifact.
Well, now you get to find some sweet Keeper of the Grove trinket to slot, and you can just wear that instead.
I kind of generally wear the pale lavender ion stone
Well,
at level
I
5,
mean from
but
fair, but yeah, I just meant instead of swapping to your voice of the master. But yeah, I think we covered. Like, I'm looking at your notes. First of all, I thought we were brain synced up together for a little bit. And then I realized, no, you in fact just had all that stuff in the notes and I missed it. But I think we hit it all.
the
Like,
last thing I have, and this I think kind of this is kind of a way that you can take that next step as a new and returning player, is when you think about your weapons, and to a lesser extent your gear, bosses versus trash. There are a lot of weapons that maybe you really like using. You were talking about some proc effects, right? Like a freezing effect, or the platinum effect, and just some other effects like that. Those don't work on bosses. So,
that's true.
kind of think about maybe some of the weapons that you're using. Um, there's a lot of like debuffy weapons that are kind of, again, that's like one of those steps to get to that 1% of 1% level of play that people like to use. But there's also other things that are, you don't have to get that crazy about. But think about your weapons. Maybe you have some weapons that are really great against trash, but maybe not so good against bosses. So stuff like that.
That is fair. That is fair. There's not as many bosses like that in the 1 to 20
No,
realm.
there's really not.
A lot of that stuff starts happening post level 20. There's one or two like there's the vampire in Shadow Crypt that's like silver and adamantine. But for the most part, that kind of stuff is later, so it wasn't on my list.
Yeah. I'm not really necessarily talking about like DR breakers. Just like, be aware that this weapon set you have that has procs may not affect bosses, right? So
Sure. Well, at the same vein, though, having or keeping in mind the fact that DR starts to become real.
it's true.
For like Sharn especially, right? All those robots, all those constructs, adamantine, stuff like that. It does factor in.
I've been playing a caster so long for my reincarnation. I kind of
I mean,
lost that information.
Yeah, well, I just switched back to a melee life, so life is weird all of a sudden. It's like, what am I doing?
I've got some melee lives in my future, so.
Great.
Well, hey, I think we covered pretty much everything very verbosely. We hope you enjoyed this series as much as we enjoyed talking about it. Anything you want to add before we wrap up, gearing up?
No, I think for the most part that we covered all the things in general, and then we had the details. But I'm always going to try to hammer this home is that you need to figure out what it is that you are having fun doing.
Yeah.
If for you having fun involves playing this kind of build, then you don't have to worry about gearing out for other. If you think that you're going to want to experiment with builds or have multiple characters in your arsenal, or you're going to have 2 or 3 different TR or raiding characters, or a TR project and a high level project, however you want to do things, you have to figure it out for you, which is part of the things that makes it difficult for us to give you advice, and why it became such a large project is because we're trying to cover as many of the angles as we can for you guys, and it's such a personal project. The other prospect. The other thing to keep in mind is there's literally nothing in the game that's going to draw more animosity, maybe is the right word I'm looking for here. There's nothing else in DDO that's going to cause more drama than loot drama. So that's the other thing to keep in mind is like, no one can fault you for taking your own stuff. If it falls in your name, it's yours. You can do with it what you like. If you join a group with some qualifiers, things can get weird. I'm going to throw out a quick story here just because I'm Samus and this is what I do. But I was farming a piece of gear on the hardcore server. It's not uncommon to need one piece before you can level out of a quest ring. In this case, I was looking for the Scold ring from Ravenloft because I'm a necrocaster. +5 necro DC is pretty bloody important.
Yep.
So I had an LFM up, and the LFM said, doing this quest, my Twitch handle, farming for this ring. End of story. The very first person that hits the LFM, this paladin joins. He's like, hey, I'm on my way. I'm like, cool, we'll wait for you. We'll do the optional. We'll make sure a path is ready for you, escort you from the door to the optional chest. He opens it up, skull ring. I'm like, oh my gosh, you did it. First pull. He's like, yep, boop, I'm keeping it. I'm like, on your paladin? He's like, I don't have one. I'm like, are you going to use it on your paladin? He's like, you never know. Like, I know you're not going to use it on your paladin. You do not care about +5 to your necro DCs. But I'm like, all right, man, congratulations. And I didn't kick him out of the group. We kept running together. Eventually, I did get that Scold ring after 4 or 5 more runs. And I continue to play with, like, that guy's hit my LFM in the future. And we played and had no problems. But talk about a flip the keyboard moment. There is literally nothing on the planet that is going to get more reaction out of you than gear.
True.
Just try to let that go. Just try to let that go. 15 seconds of anger over some gear stuff is is not worth it. But those are the things that will stick with you. I can also give you a story about how I got the 7-finger gloves from the Titan raid on my wizard, Samus, that I still play to this day. I still use these 7-finger gloves. I took my headset off and told my wife how happy I was. And she were like hugging her, like, yeah, we got it, we got it. Put my headset back on. This paladin was using a bunch of slurs for the whole 5 minutes. I was talking to my wife and congratulating myself. Put my headset back on, and the chat's just filled with, oh my God, I can't believe this guy's just sitting here taking it, blah, 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 blah. I put my headset back on. And the guy's like cursing me. I'm like, sorry, I was AFK. What's going on? And then he started all over again with his rant. I'm like, oh, I don't give a crap.
Bye.
Bam. But I remember that, and that was 11 years ago. He's still on my banned list. If I ever see him come in and try to do something, I won't play with that guy. You get nothing but emotions from loot. So keep that in mind. That the highs are really high, the lows are really low. Try not to take that out on anybody else, because those are the things that people remember forever, is that drama.
Yeah. Well, on that note, hey, why don't you talk about your stream and your YouTube real quick?
Sure. Awesome stuff like that happens on my stream all the time. Twitch.tv/Samius Gurobo. We stream Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time until about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That basically covers East Coast to West Coast lunch break, so you guys have something to listen to during your lunch break. Then we come back around 7 o'clock Central Standard Time until about 2 in the morning. So that gives you something, after dinner while you're playing DDO, et cetera, et cetera. So basically what I'm saying to you is I stream about 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, trying to give you guys some content. I hope you guys can come check things out. Also, my other big project, my big push, is I'm really working on my YouTube channel this year. I'd like to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. I really would appreciate your help. YouTube.com/Samius Gurobo. We'll be working on a bunch of new content specifically pointed at YouTube and at new players and at returning players. I'm going to be starting a series called DDO Player Handbook, where we're going deep into the weeds, and hopefully that will start recording next week, and we'll hopefully start getting that out almost right away. So check that stuff out. Again, youtube.com or twitch.com/Samius Gurobo. Patrick is nice enough to put it on the stream. It's also available over at DDOCast.com. There's links on that as well. And I really appreciate it if you guys would be so kind to help me out at that 1,000 subscriber mark, or it's not subscribers on YouTube, followers on Twitch. At that 1,000 subscriber mark on YouTube, then we'll do a push to like monetize YouTube. So you guys have to watch ads anyway, so I might as well get my 15 cents for you guys watching ads. But I would really appreciate it if you guys could help us out and make that happen. If you like crazy commentary like this, you got to tell Patrick he's got to record when I can help.
Hey, we did today for 5
we did
hours.
Today, we made it happen today. Hey, that's the consequences of inviting me to the bloody stream. You know it when you ask me on.
It's great. I've got my topic discussion recorded for through August now, so I'm great.
I can see it now too. It's going to be like, hey everybody, Samus is still talking. Go. No, it's good. I love being here.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it. This has been a whole lot of fun, as evidenced by the fact that this is by far probably the longest show we've recorded in one shot ever.
And also, you match your shirt, which tells me that I've done a good job. You've laughed enough to make yourself red.
Well, thanks for listening to the show. Thanks to Samius for joining me, and thanks to everyone for helping make this show happen, and to Sandstone Games and to Cyberers for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit us at DDOCast.com, or you can donate on our Patreon. If you'd like to be a part of the discussion, leave a comment or email us, DDOCast@gmail.com. I'd love to get more voices in the room, and I think we get a lot of good feedback out of this, and a lot of other... we've been doing the last 2 shots have been really specific, so hey, let us know what your favorite stuff to get for reincarnating at different levels is, and share that information. You can follow us on social media. I am at DDOCast. Hey, you're at Samius Gurobo if you want to find him on
That's the fact, Jack.
Twitter. So until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.